And they wanted to get these, I mean, only like they serve in America, you know, like these big supersized cups of coffee, huge, like 22 ounce, or what would that be, Q? I don't know. Anyway, you know what I get to. You get the picture, you know. And because what they wanted to do that was because they weren't allowed caffeine in the home where they were, you know. So, you know, you just kind of get the picture here, you know. And so anyway, they took them out and they go to this mall and they all get these great big cups of coffee and they're all walking around and they're really happy and they're excited and everything. Well, it's time they got to get them back, you know. They have a van out front and it starts pouring down rain. It's pouring down rain. And they're trying to move him to the van because they got to get back in time because the parents are coming to pick him up for Christmas. And this one young man walks out and he's got his cup of coffee. He's about halfway through it and he's holding on. He's just happy and he drops his coffee. He drops his coffee. And he falls down right there in the puddle with all the water and everything. And he sits down in the puddle and in the coffee and starts crying. Well, the woman, the supervisor, she's like, what do I do? What am I going to do? So you know what she does? She sits down right in the water, right in the spilled coffee with him, puts her arm around him, and cries with him. And I really think that that's what we're called to do for one another. And I honestly believe that that's what Jesus did. There's one last bridge that we all need to build and that this church has done so much wonderful work in doing. And there is still a great chasm, a great divide that separates not only families and communities, but the body of Christ. And that great divide is the homophobia. And there can be no healing, there can be no wholeness in the body of Christ until we've traversed that distance together. And we each have an opportunity to be bridge builders in that area. It can be a very simple thing as getting to know somebody and telling them your story. When I was at this same conference, Princeton conference, there was probably 30 people there. And we had lots of breaks. You know how they have a conference and you go to lunch and things like that. Well, the first day I said, you know, I was from MCC and these people were enlightened, so they knew who I was. And, you know, and they're all pretty. So you never know how they're going to respond to you. You just don't when you say that. Well, so after the first break, somebody comes up and says, can I talk to you? I said, sure. I'm, what do we get there? You know, guess, you know, my brother. So I just, you know, I hear the whole story about the brother, you know, and, you know, so they talk to me. And then the next break comes along, someone taps me on the shoulder. Can I talk to you? Honest to God, this went on the whole conference. Everybody knew somebody had a story. And it was like I was their personal, you know, coach for how to deal with people being gay and how to help them. But here's the bottom line was, they wanted to help. They wanted information. They wanted to be able to connect. And so sometimes when we just open ourselves up to it, God can use us as incredible ways to be bridge builders. Now, once again, I'm going to close this up. I go back to bridge building is hard work. And Dr. Martin Luther King received many, many death threats during his time. And of course, we know he was eventually assassinated. But he tells a story about one night when he was at home and he received a death threat. And it's something about it rang true and sounded different from the others. And he said, so he went down and he sat down in his kitchen and he got a cup of coffee and he started to pray. And he was afraid. And he said as he prayed, then he heard the voice of God saying to him, Martin Luther, stand up for justice. Martin Luther, stand up for freedom. And lo, I will be with you to the end of time. We are children of the rainbow promise. We have God's covenant and God's promise that God will be with us in all times, through thick and thin. And so I say to you tonight, MCC Sydney, continue to stand up for justice. Continue to build bridges for freedom. Continue to build bridges for equality. And know that God will be with you to the end of time.